probably shouldn't.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us here today. It is raining here in the Pacific Northwest, 31 years after the loss of Kurt, and I'm just so glad that everyone has taken the time to come and join us. Would love to talk about your personal stories, about where you were when you found out Kurt passed, and just if you weren't around at that point, how you felt, etc. So let's start with one of our team members. Patrick, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what happened in your area of the world? Of course, you were working at Tower at this point in Seattle.
Yeah, I was working at Tower, and I woke up early that morning. It honestly, I don't know how Tad got the information so fast, but it really couldn't have been 8:39 in the morning. I mean, it was like very early, and I got the call, and it was very short with Tad, and then right after Janine called, Tad had actually just called Janine beforehand, and she called me, and we talked for a while and just tried to make some sense out of it all. And then I had to stagger my body to work, and then later that day, there were all kinds of news crews giving interviews, and some of the, I was kind of avoiding talking to anyone, but finally the Much Music people corralled me in, and I kind of gave maybe a bit of a passionate interview, and we're still trying to track down that information or that video, though some other people have seen it. And so I was not at my best, so I was definitely blaming the media and really going off, and so that was kind of a difficult day, obviously, for me. Anyway,
To be expected.
Yeah. Rach, you were just a wee one, so your entire sort of sense of who Kurt was.
I think I was
from
3.
Yeah, just a toddler. So that was like me with John Lennon. I think I was 5 when he died. So it's like you grow up kind of just with that sense that this person has always been gone for your life. And how do you think that's affected your fandom?
Yeah.
I think we might be cutting out a little bit here. So I'm going to say hi to. Did you catch that?
I think it's made it more of like a. I don't know. Yeah, it's cutting out a little. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Can you, Patrick? I can't. You're cutting out for me, but if the others can hear you, then it's probably all good.
There's a delay, but yeah.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So I think because of where, for as long as I can remember, he was always gone. He was just kind of like this untouchable person that I wanted to learn more about. Because I'm trying to think the best way to explain it. Like it wasn't like he was like a god or whatever. I don't want anybody to take it that way, but just like he was this person that I looked up to, that I wanted to learn as much about, because the more I learned, the more I related to him. And so the more important he became to me, if that makes sense. And so I just was always heartbroken that I never even had the opportunity, like that he was just always gone, that I never even had an opportunity, I guess, to get to know or to learn more, that all I had was just what was already there. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what about you, Lisa? You were pretty young.
I get what you're saying, because like I can distinctly remember walking in the house. I say this almost every time you ask this question, but my mom was like, super fan 101, and
Mhm.
my mom was like one of the original, to me anyways, you know what I mean, walking in and her screaming at Kurt Loder on TV like, he didn't do it, he didn't do it, you know what I mean? So it was always a thing. I had a little cousin, he's probably watching, he did a senior project on this, and that was when I really, he's like a good 5-6 years younger than me, but he was like super into it, you know, he's probably closer to your age, Rachel, and you know what I mean? Like he was the one that like really pushed like the Tom Grant stuff on me, like to where I started really looking into it myself. But it's always same thing. It's always been like he had like this mythical, you know what I mean? It was like this mystical because I wasn't around, I wasn't old enough to experience the music or the legacy he was building as it was happening. And it was like an after the fact type thing to where I had to learn as I went with it.
Yeah.
And even now, I tell everyone when people message me asking me questions about what we're doing or anything, I'm like, listen, I'll be the first. I can tell you every detail from start to finish from Kurt. But when it comes to Nirvana knowledge, you might as well message one of the other girls. Like, because I know what I need to, you know what I mean? But I'm not, I send Michelle a lot of people her way because I'm not, I know a lot of people that are heavy on the Nirvana knowledge. I'm just not an ace at it. But when it comes to the case related stuff, I can, but yeah, it was just like always this mythical status like this. And the more we go, the more we're learning like that. I don't know. What Patrick, your explanation of who Kurt was like has been a really a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? It really has. Like,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
it's doing an amazing thing for a lot of us, like the younger crowd that wasn't around for it. Like giving us a little more personal look inside of Kurt's life instead of this character on MTV that none of us had the chance to get a glimpse of.
I'm
Yeah.
going to let a few more people in because we've got some other people here. I'm just going to ask a quick question here. Somebody
What about
asked
you,
Patrick.
Michelle?
Oh,
What about you,
yeah,
Michelle?
I will speak to that too. Patrick, do you remember the fluid? Someone is asking you.
Oh yeah, the Fluid was great. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Perfect.
I
Okay.
saw them a
What's
number
the
of times.
fluid?
They were a band from Denver that was on Sub Pop, and they were just kind of a heavy rock band, but yeah, they're a good band. They're really good live, and their records are good too. But yeah, oh yeah,
I have to go look it up.
Yeah.
I was 18 when Kurt died. I would have been turning 19 in October, and I was at home with my mom watching Much Music, our version of MTV. And I think they simulcast the Kurt Loder thing, you know, saying he was gone.
so you
And
might have actually seen my rant.
I may
Isn't
have. I don't. Yeah, it's. I
isn't
mean, I
that
wish I could
insane?
say that I remember that.
That would
You
be
know, it could
funny.
be one of those
Some
things
guy
where if
went
we
off.
find it, where if we
That would
find
be
it, I'll be
so-
like, oh yeah, I remember that. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and let in a few other people here.
Hey, while you're going, I just wanted to mention we have a goal set in the chat. I think Joe's going to be mentioning it or joining us here in a little bit, but Joe recently got a place. I think he's going to tell everybody about that. But we're just trying to get some money together for him to help him get like some common necessities for the new place. If anybody wants to join.
I want to
Yeah.
say a random thing too about gatekeeping, because I keep having people who really like approach me like, oh, I you knew him, I didn't know anything. There is a fan is a fan is a fan. If you love Kurt, if you love his music, it doesn't matter if you've been into them since the 80s or knew him like I did, or you just discovered him last week. If you love his music, you love his music, and don't let anyone denigrate your personal fandom. And I just wanted to say that because that doesn't happen too much with the Nirvana people, but some Star Wars people can be like that to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I've seen a little of it with people, the way they interact with me because I was his friend. And it's like, no, I'm not special. I just happen to know him. And it just, you know, I actually don't know as much about Nirvana as a lot of you guys. You guys all really know this stuff. I mean, I just know the albums and the music. But anyway, I just wanted to say that about gatekeeping. Like, just, you know, tell those people to piss off.
I love it. Let's so we have a couple new friends. You probably saw them in the last one. I want to start with our good friend Jason Ward from Australia, because I don't know how long he has to hang out with us. Not that I'm saying that you can't spend the entire time, but I want to make sure we hear from you, Jay. So tell us about where you were when you found out Kurt passed.
Yeah. No, all good, mate. I do actually have to bolt. It's just about midday Wednesday in Australia, and I've got to go out for lunch. So, so that's amazing. No, we've had this discussion before, Michelle and Lisa, I believe. But 1989, I was in a place in Adelaide, in South Australia, called Big Star Records, and they were playing "Flower" by Soundgarden, and I was just absolutely blown away. My Judas Priest and Iron Maiden records went on the back burner, and I started finding everything I could from Seattle. And that's how I came across Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all the rest of it. I just turned 21 on the 10th of March in 1994, and was absolutely, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, devastated when I heard the news. I was in a share house at the time, and a couple of the girls were still in school. They came home in tears. The whole house was just distraught. It was amazing. Mind-blowing, such a reach that man and his amazing music had, and still does. I mean, you know, it's 31 years since. It's, 34 years since the world sort of first heard of Nirvana en masse, and they're still selling millions of albums every year. It's insane. Just before I do run off, I've got some good news that I want to share with all of you particular people. And anyone who's listening, come and say g'day. I've booked my flights to Seattle. I will be there from the 23rd to the 28th, 21st to the 28th of August. So I'll be there for the Lane Staley show. Speaking of Lane, I put my nice picture up today.
I thought you
so, yeah, so I will be there for a week. Not only a week, short, sharp, but we'll have to catch up. Look, at Slim's or something fantastic. I can introduce you guys to Dwayne, who I believe Patrick already knows. And we can catch up at Slim's and have something to eat and maybe a beer and rock around to Joe's and say g'day, knock on his door.
Yeah.
nice.
I love it. Oh, that's great news, Jay. We're super excited about that. So hopefully we all get into the country. We've heard there have been some issues at the border. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, everybody who's going to be coming is going to get in. Thanks so much for making the time to come chat with us too. We always love seeing you.
No, that's cool. Much love to you all, and as always, continue doing what you're doing. You are amazing.
Love you.
Love you, Jay.
Have a great
See you guys.
Hey, Lennon.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about where you were? Were you old enough, Lennon?
I was only 10.
You were just little. Yeah.
Yeah, I was little. I remember my parents talking about it. My brother was older than me. He would have been 16 when it happened. So, but he wasn't around me at the time, or he wasn't living with us. So, but I got into Nirvana when I was 11, a year later. So, my brother used to tell me, like, you missed him by a year. You missed him by a year. So, but yeah, I don't know what I was doing on that day. I mean, I'm sure I was watching MTV and I'm sure but it kind of went like that with me.
Totally.
So.
Sabrina, now you're all the way across the pond. Did you like Nirvana when they were big?
Just confirm you can hear me.
We got you, babe. Yep.
Good. I liked Nirvana so when I heard the news, I was 15. not a good age to be doing much. You're already very angsty, but I liked Nirvana for a while. I think it was like Bleach or around that era that's when I heard them, and I was a bit of a metalhead at the time, so I really liked the hard sort of sound of it and the rawness. But it was funny because I even liked Bon Jovi at some point. I was going through all sorts of different phases like you do at that age. And then I settled on grunge. I was just totally hooked as soon as I'd heard the likes of, the classic Nirvana, of course, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, bit of Alice in Chains. And I just pretty much hooked. And I was literally trying to sit here earlier and figure out when I'd found out. I used to sit and just draw to all sorts of music, and it was on loud, and my mum had to put up with it. But I was trying to figure it out because it's a bit of a blur to me. I was quite alone in my music taste at school. I was quite alone in a lot of the things I did, but I sort of had to deal with it on my own, if that made sense. Like my mum knew, and she was obviously quite supportive, but it was all reported as suicide all over the place. And I was really baffled and quite stunned by it, to be honest. It didn't really make much sense because I was following him musically and everything, and, he had not finished. But anyway, I was in a bit of a daze about it. Basically, that's the best way I could describe it. Yeah, and I was at that horrible age anyway, where everything's just such a nightmare. So, yeah, I did suffer for it a little bit because the narrative was only suicide. Because, of course, we know how it all happened. But yeah, that's me. So yeah, I was heavily into them. I was devastated when I heard the news, whether it was the day. We're 8 hours ahead of you. So, if the news had broken at your time, noon, it would have been 8, 9 or whatever our time. And I don't even know that it broke that early. I know that it broke on the day. It could well have been the next morning that I found out. But regardless, I was absolutely devastated.
So
angry.
I think, Patrick, I'm going to direct this at you, but it's probably something we all want to talk about as well. But at what point did you go, right, but this doesn't make any sense? Like, I knew this person and something's wrong.
When I was on the phone with Dad, I mean, it was literally in the very first moments. And then Janine and I talked at length. Janine, for anyone, Janine was my birth mother, but we just had a really close friendship relationship. And she knew Kurt as well. And so we talked about it basically until I had to go to work. And then we all at work got copies of the Seattle Times with the famous article and picture and all that. And I for one am just reading it going, what? Like, wait a minute, aren't they supposed to like look into this like at least for a minute? This just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, so I for me it was kind of an immediate thing, but so many people immediately kind of embraced, God, that was really tragic, and now we have to all start dealing with accepting it and all that, and everyone started getting like that. So if you said, I don't know, does this make sense to you? People would be like, back off, and like, I don't know. So I got a pretty quick sense pretty fast of who I could talk to and who I couldn't really talk to about it. And it was just a very small group of friends of mine where we would just sort of, and unfortunately it just got kind of boring to talk about because there's no advancement in anything. And, and it just seemed like, well, that was fucked. What happened? Sorry. Didn't mean to. But
Have
yeah.
you met us?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right.
So
Pat, can I ask you a question real quick? I've talked to other people like that just involved with the music scene and stuff like back then, and you know, it's been called like Seattle's best kept or worst kept secret because people like don't want this stigma of being blackballed or you
Yep.
know, being a stain on their reputation. Like, did you experience any of that?
Well, for me as a musician, I had backed off from wanting to pursue any kind of fame, and I had already, for a couple years, been just hiding in plain sight and just recording at home. So I didn't care whether I was blackballed. I didn't. If someone said, "Well, you're crazy. Well, you're not getting a show here. You don't get to play here." It didn't matter because I didn't want to play shows. So that I did witness that from my friends that agreed with me back then. They haven't come forward currently, so I don't want to quite yet drop names. But yeah, there were people that were. I know that they were afraid that they would just become persona non grata if they started openly saying, "Well, I don't know, maybe he didn't do this to himself," you know. And so yeah, there were definitely there was unfortunately this stupid air of fear, and it just seemed like, oh, you know, because all the media's everything's a microscope right on Seattle, and so everyone's like trying to put their best foot forward and trying to, you know, like any moment could be your moment or any moment could be the moment that you are just cast off for good. And so a lot of people were very concerned about that. Not me, but that was just me. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sarah was lovely enough to pop us $5 for Joe. And she also asked a great question. And I think this kind of goes for everybody. What brought you solace in the midst of your devastation? We haven't heard from you in a while, Rach. Do you want to? I mean, I guess it's different for you, isn't it? Because of the way at what point do you go, this is affecting me, even though I already knew this, you know?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's I think despite always knowing it, always still made me really sad. The thing that's made me, I don't want to say feel better about it, but that I guess brought me solace was working on it, learning as much as I could. And I've done that for at least 10 years now, off and on, I want to say. Just tried to learn every detail, put it all in order, make it all make sense. Because I felt like if I could just understand and put all of the pieces together, that even if I couldn't do anything with that information, it would make me feel better to know what the truth was. And to, I don't know, I guess prove to myself that I wasn't crazy for thinking it was murder and not suicide. And so that's what made me feel better, was researching and investigating and learning as much as I possibly could about him and Nirvana and Courtney and the whole situation.
Yeah. I think I can say the same. Len and Sabrina, probably similar for you as well. Just knowing that you're actually doing something to fight the good fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Lisa, what about you?
Rachel summed it up. Like I was too young to really, like I said, my knowledge of it, I knew the music just from hearing it. And my mom constantly was obsessed with it. But once I started realizing like, hey, there's something here, like I'm not a real emotional person. So it's more, I dove into it head first, like, let me figure out as much as I can about this and, you know, try to educate somebody else on it too. And that was my way of like, you know, like you said, not knowing that I'm not crazy, like learning as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And trying to pass that along.
And Patrick, I think, you know, what, this is a really, you know, astute question for you. What, you know, you're living through this in real time. So what ended up, you know, bringing you solace?
That's a hard question. This whole time I've been, when you guys are talking, I'm trying to think. I'm sorry, my honest answer is I have not had solace until January until I started working on this case. It's been an open wound for all these years, and nothing has brought me solace, and I've gotten to see these facts and start to actually work and try and do something, doing something to being a part of this, and having stepped up as his friend has made me feel good. I did not know this whole movement, this whole thing was even going on. So until I stumbled on the podcast. And even then, I wasn't entirely aware that we were all in a dedicated effort to get this open. I just thought it was like poking around and investigating it kind of independently. But until I got involved. And so, yeah, for me personally, that, just actually getting to dig in and getting to work on the case has finally started to bring me some sort of solace, because it until then, it just, anytime I would think about it, it's like, it's just a mess that I feel was wrong, and I felt very alone. I knew there were people out there, but I just, again, I thought that, it's like, so anyway, working on this case finally, 2025 has brought me some solace, and you guys, and yeah.
I'm so glad, Patrick. Thank you for sharing that. And can I also reiterate, we've talked about this many times, but Patrick, there are lots of friends of Kurt's who believe that Kurt was murdered, lots of family members who believe that Kurt was murdered. Patrick is the only one who has joined us in this fight, or really spoken out publicly to try to get justice for Kurt. So we feel very blessed to have you with us, Patrick. So thank you. And one of our good friends here, Yeti, is here. He is in our groups. He is always commenting. He is a fine person and a wonderful teammate to who killed Kurt. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to get this chat thing out the way. I can't even see you guys. I'm sorry.
You
It's my
can't?
first time out.
No, that's okay.
Swipe down.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh, Lord. I'm all lost in the sauce. Well, I guess you guys can see me, so it is nice to meet you guys. Yeah,
nice to meet
finally,
you.
right?
Me too.
Officially, face to face.
Yeah. Just like I was telling Lisa, I got a bad toothache. I've been feeling kind of under the weather, but I'm on anyway. So I just had to definitely meet you guys. Yeah.
We're happy to have you here.
Gotta be the worst.
Yeah, it's like a back toothache. It's like my back right tooth.
Ooh.
Oh my God, it kept me up all night. Like the Oragel doesn't even work anymore, so it's awful.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Ibuprofen.
yeah, I've been taking ibuprofen.
Yeah.
But I've been to the dentist. I just need to go back and see like an endotitis something. I don't know. So other than that, though, I've been doing all right.
Alice says Motrin is good for a toothache, Yeti. So if you have any of that, grab that. Can you tell us where you were when you found out Kurt passed?
Oh my goodness. 1990. I don't remember. I was only 10 when that happened.
Yeah.
So I don't remember, to be honest. I remember first listening to Nevermind, like when it first came out, but not when Kurt died. I don't remember that.
So you were really little, listening to, like, just rocking out to Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I remember, I think I was like 7 years old. Yeah, that I remember.
Yeah.
But can't remember when Kurt died, though. I think I was like in the 4th grade.
Wow.
I was like in elementary school. Yeah.
Fifth
I'm
grade.
40 now, so.
And so did Nirvana shape your musical taste kind of going forward, going into those formative years in junior high school?
Oh, for sure. I was always more into hip hop and rap, kind of growing up in those areas. But Nirvana definitely got me more into the punk rock, metal, kind of heavier stuff. They're like my kind of gateway drug into heavier stuff, I guess you could say. But yeah.
That's amazing. Clove oil, a few people have mentioned, Yeti, for your tooth. So if you can pop down, I don't know if your drugstore carries essential oils.
Try that out.
But yeah. So, okay. So we talked before about what are our favorite Nirvana songs, and Ash mentioned here, Smells Like Teen Spirit was not one of Kurt's favorites. I like it too. Ash also said he enjoys it, but what are your favorite Nirvana songs? Yeti, hit us with the top 3.
Oh man, that's hard. I would actually say my favorite Nirvana song is Lounge Act.
So
Probably my favorite. Yeah. I would say Do Re Mi is actually probably up there. It's a really beautiful song. And All Apologies, I would say. Those are probably my top 3. Depending
so
on my
all
mood.
over the spectrum too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It just kind of depends on what kind of mood I'm in,
Totally. Yeah. Someone said, 1 second here. We said, hi, Little Lemon.
Oh.
Inside
Hi.
joke there.
Yeah. I wish I was in the FBI.
Oh my gosh, right? That would be amazing. Yes. My condolences to Patrick. It hurts for us. I can't imagine what it is for him. I think in cases like this, there is no solace, just learning to cope with it. At least now we can direct our grief. That's exactly right, Elia. If I said your name wrong, my apologies. Please let me know. But yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes. And there is solace in I'm gonna say it. Obviously we have to present it and we have to present our case and everything. But we went from compelling evidence, extremely compelling evidence, to irrefutably 100%. There is no scenario in which suicide is actually part of it. This happened by Michelle. She pieced it all together. Sabrina helped. Rachel helped. Everyone helped. And on April 5th, Michelle pieced together something that all the pathologists, all the medical examiners missed and did not put together. And I will say that in the future, after Kurt's whole death has been redetermined, the quote history books will reflect that Michelle Wilkins solved the Kurt Cobain case on April 5th. I'm just saying. I'm throwing that out there.
That is very kind. We did figure out that the toxicology argument was bullshit on the 5th. And, and Sabrina had done a crazy amount of work on the autopsy. Lisa and I did she ended up being able to take that into another toxicology professional and make sure that it was all right. But, I think we have, the big arguments for the toxicology are done. We know that Kurt's doesn't matter if it was free morphine or total morphine. It was too much. We also know now that he got the final dose 30 to 60 minutes before he died. It was not spread out over 12 hours or whatever people like to argue. So that argument's done. And then when it comes to the autopsy, the smoking gun is in the autopsy. Tom Grant put out the autopsy a year ago and said, nothing to see here. And then our team worked on it and showed there's something to see there. And Kurt was in a coma. He was comatose and gasping for air. As he was being shot and murdered. So, yes, we know these things now. We also know that the ballistics are also prove that the shotgun did not work the way that they said it did. So we have 3 smoking guns now, as it were. We have the toxicology, the autopsy, and the ballistics testing. So, I mean, there's no more arguing. There's this. Anybody who wants to say Kurt was depressed or this or that, it's done. We have the science, and you can't bully science into believing it was suicide. So,
and that is solace. That gives me tons of solace, like more solace than I can express. So for what that's worth.
So that's our big update too. So that's where we're at, where we're talking about. Thank you, Patrick. That was very kind.
Sorry to bury the lead.
But we that is our big update. That this is what I think Sabrina said the other day, and she said it in a really cute way. Like, you know, somebody makes an AI video with a stupid AI song in it, and then another person who says he's, you know, fighting for Kurt just sits there and complains about who killed Kurt. And in the meantime, we're working on the autopsy and, you know, doing forensics. So, you know, you can fuck around and make videos all you want. And we love making videos and being with you guys and hanging out and doing this. But the fact is that we're actually, you know, working on things that haven't been done in 31 years. So I think that's, you know, that's why we're going to get this reopened this year. So,
yeah,
just very proud of the work that all of you have done. I mean, seriously, Sabrina, you and Michelle going at it like that, and Rachel, God, you guys were just, it was like, oh, there's this fan, boom, boom, boom. You guys were just bouncing back and forth. It was amazing to watch. And it was just like funneling into this answer, and then boom, Saturday figured it out, and we've kind of been sort of confirming and refining, and I'm just super impressed with you guys. You guys have kicked everyone's ass, and yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just had to. I had to bury the lead a little bit there.
Thank you.
That's really kind, Patrick. I want to say so much more, but I think what might be a good idea if myself and you, Michelle, do a little sort of update on the autopsy and talk through things in depth. It might be a nice idea to do that. We can then reveal a lot of the other detail that we've found, which also proves that this it was a suicide wasn't impossible a feat, and we can get all technical then, and we can mention the other factors that we found as well. But yeah, I just thought I'd say that. I don't know how much to say right now, etc. So that's, I'm almost belt and braces. There's so much I could say right now, but I'm a bit reluctant to do that. I'm always case first. But yeah, no, that's very kind, Patrick. And yeah, Michelle has done an astounding job, and she's been very supportive in allowing me to do my bit on the autopsy. Medicine is my special interest. I am a bit weird like that. So I really got stuck into this. There is a lot in there. I'd like to say there's everything in there, because there is.
And
yeah,
Sabrina, we're missing pages too, aren't we? You're doing this with...
We're missing several pages. So when I looked at this, I'm not a medical professional at all. I have spent a lot of time in hospitals growing up, and I had to either embrace it or go all weird about it. Obviously, I had to embrace it. They were saving my life continuously. But yeah, I mean, when we picked the autopsy up, what was you saying, Michelle? What did you just ask me? It's so late here.
Just that we're missing pages. Yeah.
Yes. One of the first things I noticed was there were several missing pages. Now, I used to be a magical consultant. What we used to do, we used to get thrown into all sorts of business situations, and we had to add value immediately. And it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. We had to go and analyze it and provide solutions, not problems, corneas in it. It's very good though, because it's given me a big toolkit and ability to analyze anything really, in a really independent way. That's basically what I did with this autopsy. I tried to do it the hard way by learning how a post-mortem is done. That's how dry I am. I will sit there and learn that. And then I took the autopsy and went through it as if I was almost doing the post-mortem. I know it sounds gross. It isn't particularly nice, this aspect anyway. But just doing that, looking at what should be in there and what was presented, it was very stark. We had pages missing. Not only did it start at page 4, the autopsy proper, it also started mid-paragraph while talking about external or internal injuries. missed the face, missed all the clothes. You've got to go look through all of the clothes. You've got to look at all of the staining, all of the markings, all of the gunpowder, everything all over it. None of that was there. The face was missed. There are so many aspects of the eye you need to examine. None of that was there. I could go into so much detail. The crucial part of the autopsy are the front couple of pages. They are basically what the overall findings are with regards to the body. They're not there. It's very stark. Then you go towards the back of it, and it starts to go into microscopic findings. It has only just started to go into those findings. And these are where you take slices of tissue and put them under a microscope and have a look. It then should go and turn into a conclusive summary of what the findings are, signed off by the doctor who did the autopsy and the preceding person, etc. All gone, all missing. So I estimate, I actually did the analysis in terms of the content, and I actually came up with a figure of 53% of the autopsy is not presented to us in some manner. And that is just to do with the detail that is missing, the sections that are missing. Why that is so, I would not like to speculate. It could be of oversight. It could have been done with purpose. I don't know. I don't really care. But what I do know is we have enough in the autopsy that we have been given to draw the conclusions we need to draw. So provision of the other papers will only just actually show that we're right. Withholding them does not stop us figuring out what happened to Kurt, basically, is the bottom line. Heartstone, I did something really geeky earlier and dry, and I made a little t-shirt because I'm just...
Are you wearing it?
And look, here it is.
Can you tell people why Heartstone is your hero?
Heartstone is my hero because he was the coroner, yes. So I just want to really cover this briefly. I won't go into any more gory detail, but obviously Heartstone was compromised. He knew Courtney and he knew others that were directly related to the murder of Kurt. Now, he made a compromise with Courtney. If you look at the scene note, if you look at the autopsy detail, it is completely different from the classification that he made in terms of suicide. The classification, and it's called the medical examiner's determination, which is just one sheet. It says what it is, it says what they think it is, and it's signed off as that. He completely bases it on the scene note, the note found at the scene itself, and the fact there was a gunshot. Absolute circumstantial evidence only, and he makes it completely clear in that determination that it's circumstantial evidence only. Nothing to do with the actual condition of the person. He had yet to do the post-mortem on, although they're dated later. He really does separate himself in that way by making sure it is clear, and he says it more than once in that determination that is based on the scene. It's not based on the actual autopsy. So when you then look at the autopsy, funny enough, what do we have? We have the compromise, which was the classification required was given to the person, but he stuck to his code when he was doing the autopsy. He did not sit there and manufacture anything. He did not sit there and fabricate any of the information that he put in there. It's all based on his analysis. He's done a full and proper job. It's completely detached from the determination. The two do not marry in any way, shape or form. And I think that might have been the compromise. Like, let's be clear. If he was friends with Courtney and this was orchestrated or Courtney was involved, it had to be in Seattle because they were there. And he probably agreed to do that on the determination. But he probably said to her, look, I am not like this is my career, this is my code. This is more than anything, and I will put in the autopsy proper what is going to be in the autopsy proper. Of course, that wasn't released for a while, so he probably reassured her with that. Whatever, I don't care. All I know is we've got everything we need in what's been provided. Whether or not the rest is provided remains to be seen. But it will only add to what we already have determined from it. So there is my T-shirt. He is my hero. He may well have been compromised. Another funny thing is he puts a question mark next to the time of death, or the date of the time of death it is.
Yeah.
So he doesn't. It's as non-committal as you can get, if you like. That determination, although it is signed and it does say suicide by gunshot. It doesn't relate to the autopsy, and if you were going to go into a court and look at these two documents, you would be very obliged to take the detail in the autopsy, because that's going to be backed up by lab results that we can't see, that would be included. There's a whole raft of information that gets included in there. Not only do you get things like the actual toxicology request sheet, so where Hearthstone would have gone, I want these done, I want this looked at, that would actually be presented in there. But you also obviously get all the results and the breakdowns, all very, very technical, would require some interpretation, but nonetheless they would be in there as well. So yes, sorry to go on a bit, but I just thought I'd make all of those points a little bit clearer without actually giving any detail away.
I'm going to give away one detail. Sabrina, do you remember the first time you and I ever talked?
I do, and it was a lovely interaction.
About sanguinous.
Yeah, it was a lovely interaction about frothy fluid in the trachea. As lovely as it can get. I think I'd pick this up because there was quite a lot. I hadn't actually looked at the autopsy until last month or so. So I hadn't actually looked at it proper and studied it, but it was just the thing that everyone seemed to pick up at the beginning, which was this anomaly, this froth plug in the airway. And I went to town with that because I kind of knew that that's got to be something to do with respiratory failure, etc. So I was trying to describe it in a way that's non-gory, and I kind of struggle with that. But I tried my best, and then I had to go into a bit of detail. And then you came along and you thanked me for saying it so eloquently. And I was just like, that is such a nice thing to say, because I really tried to not make that sound gory and awful, and something that people can understand as well. I think it's really, the whole thing that this started was me trying to translate the autopsy, wasn't it, Rachel?
I'll say I literally asked.
Yeah, you asked me one word, right? Rachel goes, babe, can you just tell me what you think of this word? And what was the word?
Oh,
necrosis. It was necrosis. And as soon as I saw that word, I was like, look, what? No, what? That was it. I knew what that word meant. That is death. That is cell death. And that only really occurs when someone who's alive and an organ is struggling to have blood flow, oxygenated blood flow to it. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, right, I'm going to translate this whole motherfucker. Sorry.
Yep.
And that's basically what we did. Yeah. And whilst doing it, the findings have blown our mind. There's more in there than I ever dreamed we could even think of. And there are more than one thing that point to the fact that Kurt was not alive when the shot was taken.
Yeah, I was one of the first people to get the autopsy. So
yes.
And I'm a medical assistant. So I knew all of this stuff, like from the very just reading it, because I took medical terminology in college and all of that stuff. I studied that autopsy like I was a hawk. Like, he had what was it? It was crepitant something or another in his lungs.
Yeah,
and that told me that he had fluid in his lungs. Yeah. And then with the foam, I was like, I looked up what a foam cone is. And that's basically what that is. But I think it didn't really come out of his, I'm not sure because we don't know, like you said, like the face and stuff, but I don't know if there was any foam around his mouth or anything like that. But if the gun,
that's it. They only really describe streaking of blood, but that's another
right.
anomaly.
But I mean, you got to
Yeah.
think too, like the gun would have dissipated a lot of it too, just going off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no detail about that.
Right.
There's like whole organs missing.
Trachea.
Yeah. It's like, where's the pancreas, please? He
Yeah.
didn't just like, oh, I ain't gonna do that one.
Yeah, and like the necrosis of the liver, when it was like completely gone, I was like, oh my God, that was the first organ to go.
And then the 10 shots in the same uncollapsed vein as well. That's
right,
a
that
really
too.
interesting thing to do. Yeah.
And the Band-Aid on the other arm.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
you know that, I mean,
I was thinking he got it at the rehab. The Band-Aid.
No, the band, maybe, yeah. But the 10 shots in the arm, you only really do that if you like, you know, you've got a collapsed vein you've tried a couple times. This vein was not collapsed in any manner. It was not described as collapsed. Not that we've got all of the detail, but there were 10 shots, repeated shots in the same viable vein.
Yep.
I mean,
it's
not possible to do that to yourself. But anyway,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hey, Lise, can we talk a bit about the toxicology?
I'd love to. I mean, how much do you want to talk about?
Well, you know, like Sabrina said, I think we should probably all do a separate podcast because that, you know, on each thing, because there's so much to unpack with each. But, you know, so what is the common, let's just quickly go through, what is this bullshit thing that we've been fighting for years and years about? People argue, you know, I guess it's somehow started with Tom Grant, where they blame Tom for misinterpreting his talks, Kurt's toxicology.
Yeah, well, the main thing has always been that Kurt has this explosive tolerance, and this could have been built up over hours, which I was under that impression too, up until not long ago. Like, until I talked to this most recent toxicologist, like, I was under the impression that heroin it stays at peak levels for up to 12 hours in the bloodstream. And without certain data on the toxicology, we didn't know if this was a free count or a total count. Well, we just recently learned that it doesn't matter at all which one it is, because this is still extremely high. There's a certain thing present on the toxicology test. Michelle, do you want me to go into that?
We posted it on Patreon. I mean, people are going to take credit for it regardless, but so go for it.
There's 6 men present in the toxicology, which means that this was the lethal dose. There is morphine found in the toxicology report. That means there was some heroin in his system that had time to metabolize, but 6 man's only present when it hasn't had time to metabolize at all. So it was shit. I'm like all over the place right now. I'm trying to watch this chat. Michelle, you got it. But, the final dose was like, this massive final dose had to have been delivered within such a short period of time before he stopped breathing. So as far as the toxicology, it's like another smoking gun in itself. Like I said, I don't know what all you posted on Patreon to get into, but this has all been confirmed from where we found it originally. And it's compelling, but it blows the something we can't figure out is, why has nobody figured this out before? Like, Tom claimed to have had this gone over, and he also went along with the fact that, you know, he could have had a high tolerance, but that's just not the case. Like, this was a lethal dose, no matter how high the tolerance. This would have took out the biggest heroin addict in the world. Like, there was no surviving the final dose that was delivered. I did want to say, as far as the track marks on the arm, there's only one mark in the autopsy that really looks to be recent, as far as we can tell, for that later. But it is quite easy for any addict to accumulate that many puncture wounds. That's why I've never paid much attention to that. And a lot goes into that. There's a lot of variables, rolling veins, collapse veins. Anybody that's ever experienced or worked with it can tell you that. But that's another thing that's pointing towards a single large dose shortly before death.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because we put the 6-mem. We started doing research on that, and that is where it came up that he wasn't, you know, people say, oh, well, maybe he got that heroin over 10, 12 hours. No, that amount was within 30 to 60 minutes, which also matches Joe's statement of, you know, this all happened fairly rapidly after he got up the stairs. So this is not a question of whether it's free morphine or total morphine. And if everyone could stop using that fucking excuse, it would be really great, because we're not going to tolerate it anymore.
It was always absolute. It was always bullshit anyway. That free morphine, blah blah. There were a total 13 puncture wounds that we were detected on Kurt, and there could have been more because, you know, a really commonplace is under the lip for hiding injection sites, etc. But none of those details were provided. So it's another thing they're supposed to do as well is dissect every injection site to see if there are any extenders used or how, you know, and get any more detail off of them to see. You can get quite a lot of detail off everything, as you can imagine, but all of that detail is missing too. And he will have hopefully have dissected each of those puncture wounds, all 13 that were found on the arms, and the anticubital fossil, which is just a nice little triangle here, but they were mainly on the lower arms. But yeah, it could have had more. He could have had more in his under his lips. It's yeah, until we get the rest, we won't know. But even that alone is quite damning. The coroner's counted 13 sites. But yeah, sorry. I just find it like some of this detail. You know, when you've looked at it and you think, it just makes you shake your head, doesn't it? You know, it's just, you could see the guy was in respiratory failure. His lungs were filled with fluid. His lungs had the rails. They were crepitant. He had froth in his fucking trachea because he was dying or dead. He had multiple necrotic organs, and he had puncture wounds, which just kind of corresponds with the amount of fucking heroin in him. So, excuse my French, but it's all there, and it's just it's you know, when you see it all yourself, you know what I mean, Michelle. When you get all these revelations, it's just you don't know. It's just, you're just lost for words that it's gone this long. All right, this autopsy hasn't been out this long, but nonetheless, I don't know. I'm gonna just shush because I just get quite worked up.
No, you're totally right on.
The
I think you're totally right on.
has been out though for years, and that could have been something that would have, you know what I mean? If it was properly looked into, like that should have been a red flag years ago. And like I'm kicking myself for not noticing that one little section, but nobody knew to look for it before this, because it's a combination of things that are found in the autopsy that makes you look back to the other to compare. Why is this present? Like the necrosis being present, like that makes you look back to see, did he die from this final dose, or was he close to dead? Like, why is there this present? And one's feeding off the other, and without having them both, there wasn't really, you know what I mean? It kind of just a dead end.
You know, it's an interesting thing too, because we were working with a doctor from the UK who wants to stay anonymous, which is fine, but he's brilliant. And he said, he saw the autopsy and said, necrosis is not possible if the gun took Kurt's life. And so that's, you know, when I think Sabrina really started working on the autopsy. That's, you know, when we started really going into this. And then every medical examiner we've spoken with and that he spoke with said Hartshorn must have made a mistake. Necrosis is wrong. Well, what if he didn't make a mistake? And Sabrina pointed out today very astutely as well that he did. So we spoke to a medical examiner. Our lawyer and I spoke with a medical examiner last week who looked over the autopsy and said he must have written necrosis because Kurt's brain was pulverized by the birdshot, and he must have been confused. I mean, that's a fucking crazy thing to indict on somebody, but and then the wording of it, Sabrina, can you explain how that doesn't make sense? Because he did write that Kurt's brain was basically pulverized by the shot, and then wrote in addition to necrosis, correct?
Yeah, he did. I mean, he went into great detail describing the path of the shot, and I mean, the detail was immense. I had to learn about every single part of the skull, every bone. I had to learn every single section of the brain because he just told us the complete direction in minute detail. The only mistakes I saw of his in there were plural. He'd used plurals into where he should have used a singular, and they're Latin terms. When you're typing on a thing, you're not always gonna get it perfect when you're typing. Remember, this is typed. Nonetheless, if he'd made a mistake like necrosis, he would have scored that through. But this was describing the I can't even say that word beginning with P. I write it, but I can't say it. Periential. Anyway.
Parenchymal.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Rachel's got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is to do with the functional tissue. So that's to do with functional cells. And what he was describing was a bleed that affected the functional tissues and necrosis. So it was in addition to what it described in detail with the path of the bullet and where it ended up. The necrosis was in addition to it. He made that separation. So that he talked about the hemorrhaging, which is the bleeding, and the fact that it affected the functional tissue, but he also talks about necrosis. Now,
but there's also necrosis in the liver.
So weird. Yeah, that's right. You followed, and that was just necrosis in terms of so we're talking about microscopic findings, aren't we now on the slides? Yeah. So he would have had that slide looked at, and he would have taken a little and had a look. Necrosis is really common thing to find in post-mortems, and him getting just that word wrong is a bit of a weird thing to me, because if you take it alone, oh yeah, maybe if it didn't actually correspond with the other findings, the fact that he was dead or dying, I actually believe he was dead because of the necrosis. Yeah, there is a period of starvation of cells and having over 30 minutes, but it was such a massive dose. His lungs were completely full. So one of his lungs weighed more than the other. And that was a discrepancy. It should have weighed the other way around. It's abnormal. And that showed there was fluid in those lungs, in particularly the lung that was heavier. And then he had the froth. So he could not breathe. It's like drowning.
Yeah, he was drowning.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Asphyxia, it's drowning. So he drowned from the massive, and not only that, but heroin works to suppress the breathing center of your brain. That happens naturally. Narcan's there to restart that. So that would have been the secondary thing that would have also stopped him breathing. So he can't clear his lungs, etc. All those involuntary motions to stop, because breathing is in that center of involuntary activity. So yeah, and then you've got these tiny pinpoint pricks in his pinpoint dots in his eyes. They're red and they're purple, and that only happens as well when you're asphyxiating. Does not happen as part of the trauma as a gunshot wound. It does not. It happens when you're basically suffocating.
Petechiae.
And that was seen in the conjunctiva and the lining. So there's so much there. They can argue necrosis was wrong. Do you know what? They can have their necrosis. Yeah, we've got much more. Yeah, come bring the next thing. That's all I can say.
And
I'm not even medically trained, but I've spent time analysing this, and I love this shit.
Yeah.
But come on then. Bring the next thing. Tell me you made a mistake about that as well, yeah? Let's go.
Come at me, bro. Is
Yeah.
that what we're
Yeah,
saying?
come at me, bro. That's right. Come at me. Come
It's
at
fun.
us.
Lisa, what happened
yeah.
Right
when
on.
you brought in our updated toxicology report to the toxicology professional that you've been speaking with?
Oh yeah, she immediately asked me. She's like, "Why didn't you guys figure this out sooner?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Like I showed you this shit a year ago, and you didn't notice it either until I asked."
You're
you
the
a bunch of
professional.
Right.
Yeah, so this has happened a lot today online. Like since you guys posted on whatever on Patreon, I've had a bunch of people message me like, how is this not been and well, you should have known this. There's a couple of people in the chat right now that are like mentioning there's two different forms of necrosis. Sabrina, you could probably explain it better than I can. I'm not even trying. But anyways, there's somebody, let me just read it and then you can go from it. Where is it? He had a lot of health issues, and there's a strong possibility he could have had cancer, which will show up as necrosis, and he had phlegm, which indicated he had some type of respiratory infection. Now, before you go into it, I just want to say, like, guys, we're reaching for excuses against the scientific evidence that is proving this was not suicide.
If you got to work that hard to try and come up with something.
Like we don't need to find these excuses anymore. Like this isn't the only thing that proves the suicide theory bullshit to be bullshit. Like there's multiple smoking guns at this point, and it's backed by forensic hard scientific evidence. We don't have to reach anymore to question.
We never had to reach. It's them who are reaching. Yes. No, I get you.
We never had to reach. Like, but trying to discredit or not even that you're trying to discredit it. I shouldn't say that because I know you're a supporter of the cause, but there's no evidence of a you know what I mean? A breathing infection, or there's nothing,
or cancer,
nothing at all.
Or cancer. Cancer is a big one.
That would be mentioned.
It's almost like they have the tinfoil hats on.
Yeah, like.
Well, we don't have to do mental gymnastics to.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not
Whatever.
calling you out or anything. I just point that out. Like there's no evidence whatsoever of cancer or any type of. I mean,
he was pretty healthy, actually.
The simplest explanation is usually
necrosis type things. Like maybe it'll give people a better understanding of it.
I want to also just explain something about necrosis, and I'm going to read it because it's easier. And one more quick thing here. You know, most of the claims against homicide are emotional projection. Kurt seemed depressed. Kurt wrote songs about suicide. Oh, he escaped Exodus. These things are all emotional projections of what you think a suicidal person or depressed person would be like. Sabrina and I actually put a bunch of Kurt's journals, statements, etc., into the DSM-5, and we compared against as to see whether or not Kurt did have major depressive disorder. Guess what?
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't even have one marker of major depressive disorder, not one.
And funny enough, we don't find any antidepressants or antipsychotics or anything else in his toxicology either.
No, exactly. Okay, so I just want to read you this about necrosis. Somebody said that necrosis can happen after death when a body's been lying there for a while. That is incorrect. When an autopsy report describes necrosis, it is referring to tissue that died while the person was still alive, not tissue that decomposed after death. Necrosis is a vital reaction. It tells us something about what happened before death, and that's why it's so important in cases like Kurt's. There is no type of necrosis that occurs after death. Any postmortem tissue breakdown is classified under autolysis or putrefaction, not necrosis. So the fact is that Dr. Hartshorn wrote down necrosis in addition to the pulverization of Kurt's brain. So we know he meant it. He didn't make a mistake. And two other very well-established medical examiners signed off on this. Okay. So you're telling me that, was it Dr. Ray who signed off on the autopsy? Yeah. He signs off on the autopsy. He sees necrosis. Why does he rubber stamp it? Are you telling me either he didn't look at it? Well, if he didn't look at it and he signed off on it, that's a problem, right? We better get somebody to reopen the case and look again. And then somebody else, was it in the 2014 reopening that said, that yes, this autopsy is correct. So either it's one of two things. Kurt had necrosis of the brain and liver and was in a coma and almost dead by the time the bullet went off, or the autopsy was done incorrectly, in which case it needs to be reopened either way. Although then Sabrina and I, we can always go back to the sanguineous fluid in the lungs, and we still know he's choking to death as he's autonomically choking to death as he is dying, suffocating as you said. So, either way, the case needs to be reopened, but it's a smoking gun. He was dying as that bullet.
Yeah, dying or dead. I don't know. I do believe with such a high dose, he would have been completely comatose and unresponsive. He would have been in throes of death, if not dead. I don't know that it even matters of which one it is. We know that he was given more shots than he could administer himself, and then he was then shot. He was not able to operate a gun. He was not able to breathe on his own. So he had a complete, he had fluid in his lungs completely.
Yeah.
You could drown with a teaspoon. If you take a teaspoon into your lungs of water, you can drown a teaspoon. So I know he was talented, but there's limits to that.
He's still human.
Man's not breathing, but he picks up a gun that's too long anyway. All right. All right,
Somebody mentioned here that necrosis can be caused by a wound. Yes, that is true, but Kurt's brain was not wounded. And you're talking about a wound, that would be if he was shot in the brain and survived, for 5 months, then he could have necrosis. Kurt, he did not. It was not because of a wound.
Yeah. Also coming from the chat. Also in the chat right now, we're getting the question over and over again about the gash that wasn't on Kurt's leg. This was listed as an abrasion.
The lie gash?
Guys,
it was an abrasion.
Yeah, there's
a scrape.
Difference.
There are several. There are several on his legs. There's several abrasions. There are several abrasions on his legs in the autopsy proper, detailed.
An abrasion, is described as
foot.
minor break to the skin. A gash is totally different terminology. This derived from another YouTube content creator that was fishing for clicks and also said some other disgusting things about some other areas of Kurt that was totally not true. That it was just a total careless misinterpretation of wording on the autopsy.
Right.
There was no gash. Sorry, back to you guys.
No, that's totally great. And what do we think about the thought that Kurt was moved around the greenhouse? Do we have
I think those gashes, maybe from having been dragged a little bit, but I don't know. And he was in a weird spot. It seems like a strange
lividity, where the blood would follow where he was dragged.
Well, and that's kind of what I was going to say, Lennon, is I think he was dragged before he was killed, but not after. I think they dragged him into position. And then but once he was there, that was it.
He could have just been on like Sabrina, the brink of death. Just the brink of death.
He could have been. He wasn't going up willingly, as we know. So all right, so there's a couple. Are we talking about this then, I guess? Yeah, we'll just do this.
Well, you guys, I have to go.
Okay, my darling.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. It was good to see you.
Love you guys. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So there were a couple of injuries detailed in the autopsy proper, which we really haven't looked at in any detail, but they're really bait injuries. There's talk of 2 abrasions to his, I think it's the left side of his face near the mandible. So that we're talking in this area, 2 abrasions, which I don't think he had before he went up, because I don't think Joe mentioned him having any injuries on his face. And then there are several abrasions on his legs, 2 on one knee, 1 down the leg, 1 on the inner ankle, and 1 on the top of the foot. And to me, it's like if someone's trying to drag him forwards, probably up the stairs. The foot thing, the ankle, makes me think it was caught. It's a very odd thing. We plotted them to have a look at them, but there are things like this. And then there's another anomaly that I found with regards to the lower legs as well, that there were a total of 5 layers on Kurt, on his lower half. Now, his top half was dressed accordingly, t-shirt and a shirt. He was at home. But his lower half was quite surprisingly dressed. So, yeah, obviously, we know he had jeans on. But under those jeans, he then had combat trousers. So this is the second outer garment. He then had a pair of jogging bottoms. It's the third outer garment. Getting a bit warm now. And then he had long johns or thermal underwear, followed by underwear. Really excessive number of clothes on the bottom half. It's not explained very easily. I don't think he'd been wanting to walk around the house having his dinner with all of that on. I mean, how do you even sit down? Like, I know he wore layers. I'm a bit like that. We always saw a long john or what have you underneath when he had a bit of a patch in his clothes. But we didn't really expect him to wear combats and jogging bottoms and jeans and long johns as well. So I've got a theory that they were kind of dressed, overdressed to help hide some of these injuries to the lower legs. Because how would he have got them? Shooting himself in the arm, shooting himself in the mouth. You know what I mean? They could well have taken advice from Hearthstone while he was alive. I could see people calling the person calling him up and going, "Oh my God! So we dragged him upstairs. What do we do about the legs? What do we do about the abrasions on the legs we've caused? They're not going to be consistent with a drug and a gunshot death, a suicide." And I think if you do over compensate, you can actually speed up some of the processes with regard to decomp, and that may well, bruises do fade. Unlike the abrasions, bruises do fade after a period. So yeah, that was another weird thing. It was almost like he was struck, then dragged to position, as you said, Rachel, and then it was showtime for the goons.
We have a question here from CH. I work in medical malpractice, and I'm super curious why Kurt's estate would have sought damages from the hospital in Rome and Exodus for not reporting signs of suicidal behavior as claimed. That didn't happen. There was no medical malpractice suit, was there?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, that's not a thing. I mean, in fact, his doctor at Exodus said he was not suicidal. Of course, we know that the doctor in Rome stated that it was an accident, that he was not suicidal. Yeah. And we did do a bit of debunking on the entire Rome thing, and that will be in a future podcast as to, things like, was he put in a room with no windows, etc. These things just simply aren't true. If you have a source, please send it. But to the best of our knowledge, there was never any lawsuit.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I think I was just waiting. I think Ben was going to come say hello. So I'm just waiting to see if Ben wants to stop in.
Cam's on his way too.
Okay, perfect.
Email. He said that he was reading the email and apparently my time came up rather than his. So yes,
9:30. Yes, got it.
It's a big time difference, Cam, to screw up. 3 hours now. I'm well past dark by the time.
Is Cam on our time zone?
No, yeah, he's over there with you.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
LA.
Got it.
Yeah, he's in LA, I think.
Oh, okay. Got it. So cool. So next steps, while we're waiting for Cam and possibly Ben, next steps, we've got everything put together. They are basically, the autopsy, the toxicology, and there's Ben. They are all basically smoking guns in and of themselves. And then, of course, the ballistics is, I mean, we're still working on that. Mike will have the gel dummies very soon. And then we're going to have some incredible footage of what the gun can and can't do. So, I mean, we're finally at the point where, 31 years later, the research has actually been done. And, I think there's not going to be anyone who's going to be able to, like I said before, they're not going to be able to bully us into suicide, anymore. So, so that's where we're at. Okay, we'll say hello to our friend Ben. Some of you probably saw him on one of the earlier podcasts we did. Hey, Ben.
You're muted.
I swear, it's like work, man. I've got this. I've got it figured out. Hi, everybody.
Can you tell us how Kurt's death affected you, and if you remember where you were when Kurt died? You were pretty young too, right? You're a few years younger than me.
Yeah, I remember exactly how it went. I think I told you in the one podcast that we did together how I was supposed to go see Nirvana the December before in Birmingham, and I got suspended, so my mom wouldn't let me go. She's like, "You can go next year." That didn't happen. So I knew this was going to happen. My phone's going to go off. So yeah, when I'd just gotten home from school, I had no idea what was going on, and my mom just kind of came into the room like with this face, and I'm like, what's going on? And she told me he'd passed away. I was like, no. I turned on the TV for a minute, and I saw, it was everywhere. It was horrible. I ended up just leaving the house, walking down the road to this, we had this bridge down the road from us that a creek ran under. I sat under there all night. I just didn't, I don't know. I didn't know what to do with anything. It was such a shock. I don't know. Thanks for making me relive that. And then disappearing. So.
Hey, if you're done, Ben, I was just going to mention, there, she's back. Never mind. I was going to say, I think, Michelle, you are still trying to, she didn't put her headphones in here. Hey, you are putting together a, rebuttal list, right? For people to copy and paste rather easily. Michelle?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So, anything that people come at us with, whether it's emotional projections of who they think Kurt was, or, what Courtney told them. There's not a lot that they can talk about with the science, but they're still going to come at us with, well, blah, blah, blah. He was writing songs about suicide. He had that shirt, said, I hate myself and I want to die. So yeah, for sure, we're still going to get that stuff. So I'm just making TLDRs that people can copy and paste in forums to, to
Hey,
shut
Michelle,
people
can you touch on the whole the lyrics thing real quick?
Just about how tons of bands write songs about suicide and none of them are suicidal.
Let me get close enough so you can see my eyes roll. Sorry.
You guys, Ben and Patrick both being musicians, you know how common that is. There's a band called, Suicide Machines. They write songs about dogs, there's suicidal tendencies. It's just a common theme in rock and roll, and most bands, I know I talk about Green Day a lot, but you look at Uptight by Green Day, the whole song is about somebody committing suicide. And it's
Blink-182.
Yeah.
Don't they have a bunch of songs? Yeah.
Well, Adam's song for sure. I think they said that's about being on tour, but then they put the suicide hotline in the video, I believe. But it's such a stupid thing. Oh, then there's the one about, Kurt took photos with guns.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
What?
He was a fan of them. What do you?
But a lot of people, how many times have you guys seen people, in comment sections, they'll post the one where Kurt's holding the thing like this, and it's you dumbasses, do you really think he was posing with a real gun there anyway?
And that was the photographer's idea. That wasn't Kurt's idea. It was the photographer.
Yeah, it wasn't even his idea. And it was a photo shoot. It isn't like he was just hanging out in front of his house You know what I mean? And somebody walks by and snaps a picture. Like,
It's his sense of humor too. It's just it's like
Yeah.
he's just joking around. It's like, oh, you have a prop gun? Sure, here. I mean, what are you gonna
Yeah.
do with that? Of course, you're gonna do goofy things.
It's not like he
Right.
brought it from home and was like, guys, I'm super
I need
depressed.
to do
and I'm going to
this.
show everybody. So,
right.
and they were
It's
like,
a
I don't know,
secret, but
man.
I need to do it.
Yeah.
Make sure you
I
document.
wanted to
That's the
bring my
worst secret.
long-barreled shotgun, but I only have
Yeah.
this pistol.
So
Yeah,
I'll wait,
this pellet
I'll wait
gun.
a few months, and then I'll check my shit out from rehab, and then I'm gonna let people see me before I go get super high and
Yeah.
Yeah.
commit a miracle.
Yeah.
Magic tricks. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
So I was doing some research on the Kurt stuff, and then something came up that compared all of the things that happened to Kurt to Elliot Smith. And then Ben and I thought we would do a podcast on that for Overheard. Ben, do you know more? You know more about Elliot than probably the rest of us do, I would assume.
Yeah. It
Okay.
was, it's a, oh my God, the similarities are strange.
I hung out with Elliot though.
I did too.
Yeah.
He was one of the, isn't he so tiny? He was such a tiny little human. Super sweet though. I mean, absolutely.
So sweet. So
Um,
nice.
but
Soft spoken, very, very soft spoken.
yeah, I felt so weird when I met him because he was really short, and I was just like, "Hi, man." But yeah, the whole situation with him, especially the suicide, I think it's undetermined. I think they finally listed his death as undetermined. But I mean, the guy had 2 stab wounds in the chest, in the heart, with no hesitation wounds, no medication. He was in an argument with his girlfriend who locked herself in the bathroom, and that sounds familiar. And I think there was some issues with music rights afterwards. I don't really remember, but it was awful. I mean, he was doing better at that period of time too.
Yeah.
And I think that probably had something to do with it. He was probably getting tired of Jennifer, I think her name was. I don't remember.
Yeah. I
don't
met
know.
him all the way back in the Heat Miser days. And then
Oh wow.
yeah, so I got to see him like it was when he did the soundtrack for that movie. That's when he really propelled up. And then Either Or was like a 1-2 punch, like the movie and then the Either Or, and then boom, he was in the stratosphere. So
That was so weird to watch too. Somebody that you had listened to that had been recording stuff in like a basement, and then suddenly he's in a white suit playing at the Oscars, and it's like, the hell's going on, man?
Yep, totally.
Such a brilliant guy. There are too many of them that are extremely brilliant that seem to kind of go into the same circumstances, except for Jim Morrison. Apparently, he's still alive. Did you see that? I want to watch that. I can't find it. But
I actually muted a guy in the comments. Kurt's what's the Como? No.
yeah.
I'll say something inappropriate.
Oh, Rivers.
But,
Right. From Missouri,
he's alive and watching the live currently. There's been, Michelle, was you seeing some of the comments that person was coming to us?
Yeah,
I just
totally.
noticed it. Like,
the Rivers thing is amazing. I've never heard a dumber. Listen, I might believe Elvis like faked his own death, but the Rivers thing,
that's true.
Exactly. Look,
He
like
killed
Rivers.
JFK.
And I
He's
kept
on the
telling
grassy
him,
knoll. Yeah.
I kept telling him, like, I knew Kurt and I've met Rivers. Absolutely different people.
Mhm.
Rivers was honestly closer in behavior to the stereotype media version of what they thought Kurt was like. He was moody and just more like, and just, I don't know. Rivers was, no offense, Rivers. I'm sorry if I'm offending you. But yeah, back then in the Blue Album days, he was a bit of a, he was a young person. So he was a bit temperamental and anyway, but yeah, not the same person officially.
I don't even see the resemblance. Like
I was just about to say
it's-
they have different faces.
Yeah.
It's all because
so many
it's all because in
different-
'92, Kurt, when he had the Beatle haircut and had the big glasses, that it's just enough reminiscent of Rivers in the Blue Album era. I think that's all I can figure is like Kurt with the big glasses in '92 with the Beatle haircut. They're like,
'Cause
oh
that-
yeah, it looks just like him.
That one look totally just, covers the entirety of his face.
I've got
Yeah.
my glasses over there somewhere. Maybe I'm Rivers. Maybe Kurt
Yeah,
is
I mean,
Rivers and I am the actual Weezer. I don't. Whatever.
no.
I'm
Well, I
a
think
Jim
people-
Morrison.
People don't realize that Weezer, like Rivers, was playing before '94. They all think, oh, and then this guy came out and he was so talented and they made this amazing album. And it's like, dude, there's video of Rivers playing like well before '94.
Yeah.
Have you checked the age on a lot of these people? I looked at actual profile pictures of the people that say the River stuff. It's usually younger kids that weren't alive for either of their, like. I mean, I wasn't either. I mean, I was alive, but yeah, it's usually younger kids that are saying this shit. Like, so it kind of makes sense.
Cool. Well,
That's
thank you
goofy.
so much for coming today. It was really fun. Ben, next time you need to come earlier. And
I got sleep to do, man. I don't.
I'm currently missing out on sleep to be here. So.
Right.
yeah, exactly. No excuses.
Bedtime.
What is
It's 4 in the
sleeping?
morning here, Ben. It's 4 in the morning, and I'm soldiering it.
Oh, geez. It's like
4.
I don't know what
I can
time it
hear.
is.
I can hear the. I can
Oh, I
hear
don't.
the.
Well, it's 11
cockles
p.m.
down
here
there.
in Ohio. So
Yeah, it's
Oh.
4 a.m.
I guess
so-
4 a.m.
Somebody asked where Joe was. Joe texted and said he was trying to get his van to get groceries, and it looks like he didn't quite make it back on time. But we will have Joe on as soon as we can. Like we said, he does have an apartment now, so we're all very happy that he and Thor are warm and safe. And thank you
Yes,
everyone who contributed and sent in some money for Joe. And thanks everyone for coming today and celebrating the life of Kurt, who was taken from us much too soon.
absolutely.
Thanks. Okay, we'll talk to y'all soon.
All right, bye, guys.
Okay.
Awkward silence.
Right.
Bye.
Always.
Bye.
Are you ending things?
I'll say I don't know if I. Okay.
I think we're still live, guys. We are.
Did Michelle?
How do we
She-
shut it off?
She's out.
Michelle left, and I think she has to do it.
What the hell? Let me call her. Yeah, I don't even have an end button. Don't everybody get off the channel. Don't pay no more attention to us. No, I'm just fucking around there if you want. But let me
Well, and then there were two. Apparently, it's just
Yeah.
now me and you.
Hey, we were the three originals. So
I was about to say we were the
sticking around
beginning.
for the long haul. It was the three of us that started this video thing.
Yep.
Shit. The camera. Oh my god.
Do you think if we both leave, then it'll just stop?
I don't think so. We gotta
Oh
end it.
Lord, have mercy.
Yeah, one of us gotta stick around. The two of us that said we wanted to go out of bed.
Right.
Everybody else dipped out on us.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to look and see.
Here, I got her.
Okay.
Yes, me and Rachel are on here talking to ourselves. She's ending it. All right,
Okay.
bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh shit. Why am I still on here? Okay, bye. I'm just gonna shut off my computer and see if that works.